to the Rollup 33 training. The Rollup 33 training, level 200. What does level 200 mean? Well, level 200 is nothing else than going one step further, showing you how to implement our solution, what's new. We will do a repetition in some capacity of what we did in level 100, which happened last week and should be on YouTube any moment. If it's next week, please. Wait for it, but it will be on YouTube as well, available. But some parts we will repeat, and we will go into deeper detail on the configuration part. And also we will take a look on a couple of flows and introduce you to one more change which happened during the week on the Rollup. With me, I'm not alone. My name is Holger Tangermann, but with me is Vera.
That's right, Vera Sabrizanova. Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Thank you for saying your last name yourself. That saved me the pleasure on doing so. As we always do in this partner trainings, please ask as many questions as possible. We try to answer them right away or at the end of the topic or at the end. You can just unmute yourself or lift the hand, the virtual hand on Teams. We also will monitor the chat. So if you have any questions, please ask. The more questions you ask here, the more we gain the knowledge or can tell you stuff which we are excited about. The new Rollup in all the partner network which we have. As mentioned last week, we conducted a training level 100, which had the users, the HR user view, and today we are taking level 200 on, which has also the HR user view, but we also take a glimpse inside the administration part, the implementation part, what it means, how it is affect, and we are doing this especially to Rollup 33. As always, at this point in this meeting, I like to point out and give a big thank you to our R&D department and our product management department, who put together another great Rollup, which is step by step we are improving our solution. And as you know, we are improving our solution always with certain focus areas, and then we have minor changes also in the other areas. What are the focus areas? The focus areas on this Rollup are the integration to Microsoft Dynamics 365 apps, in-person PSA app and field service app, which have been there before, which was existing already, but we are now changing everything under the hood. It has a new motor in it, which runs with Power Automate now, rather than having only workflows in there. Huge performance enhance generated from there. We improved the user interface and the whole experience by changing a lot of forms. Some forms you will see today, some you won't see today. We also had an improving on the leave and absence management. Also, this is mainly under the hood, meaning we improved a lot of processes in the background, which are not necessarily visible to your customers and to the end user itself, but it will make it easier for you to recalculate, to follow everything which was calculated. It gives you more options on the configuration and absence management. And this leads to the last point, the improvement of the general product quality coming out of Rollup 31.3 and Rollup 32. We did another step forward there on the product quality. In the first bit, and you know this agenda from last week, it doesn't change. Well, the content Rollup 33 is the same, so we will speak about the same integrations to Teams, to PSA, and then go into the leave and absence management step to user interface, further important changes. And at the end, if we still have time, we take care about solved customer tickets. Teams shifts. Team Shift is a virtual planning board for your employees and staff members, which shift they work on a day. As you know, we have a strong time tracking module. It's time and attendance model overall. It is all about gathering data, gathering times, gathering project time bookings, and then do everything from that point on where the employee actually worked on. We also been able to address certain shifts for a future planning, but we are all agreeing that a real future planning, or in German PEP-Planung, is needs to have a different approach there. And we think for a lot of customers, not all of the customers, they find their luck in F&O. The Team Shifts integration is one step further. Team Shift earlier, or a couple of years ago, used to be Staff Hub, and it's now improved. It's included in Teams, and it is allowing you to plan shifts. So this is a scheduling board. You can have in the scheduling board multiple teams. You see it's directly integrated in Teams. It's a Nature and Teams map app in there. You can have multiple teams in there with multiple requests. In this case, we have a CSM team in there. We have users in here. It's easy to add other users by just adding a person in here, adding the email address, if possible, from the user itself. And if it's the same email address as the employee contains, it will appear in here. Now you are able to add shifts in here. How do you do that? You're adding shifts by clicking on shifts. Let me go back because this is suddenly in German. I don't want this in German. I want this in English for you. So, it states English. Okay. So let's find out later why this is in German instead of English. So I define a shift there and I click save. So, and now a shift is there. You see this little star. The star means that it's not shared with the employee in here. You can use copy paste. So I'm just using my keyboard, copy pasting it. I also be able to mark multiple things, copy paste it, go to the next week, and copy it in there. Okay. Just mark it, copy it, and it's in there. Let's go back to the week. Once you planned your whole team, you can share it with the team, and you just have to click with share with team. You can choose a time frame. Also here you see this little stars in there, meaning that those are, or those days there are shifts which can be shared. Just hit share on this, and I will quickly refresh in the hope that we end up with an English-speaking system. Okay. So, yep.
Do you think that this shift planning would be something where customers could staff projects with? You see, you have, we're in the engineering branch quite a lot. So they have projects and they want to put in people and assign resources basically, but not having a whole project planning system.
So yes, you could, and it wouldn't be my first approach. My first approach when I think about project in the Microsoft environment, I would rather think about doing it via an ERP system like Business Central or F&O, or inside the Power Platform, the PSA integration, Project Service Automation. But you could also plan certain tasks in here, as you don't have to add shifts, but inside those shifts, you could also, if I open one, now it's English, add activities.
Mm.
Yeah. And all the activities from time, you can give them a code. You can say if it's paid, yes or not. For example, project planning. You can add multiple activities in there, and therefore you can even in shifts generate a shift plan. Having said this, are other tools in here like To Do, like Planner inside of Microsoft Teams, which can also help you to organize a project planning. And Shifts is an add-on to it, so it is integrated in some capacity. If you assign a certain task to someone, it can reflect in Shifts, but this is inside of Microsoft Teams, and the time can be also transferred to us. It's not part of the standard integration, but the data is available, and we can easily cope with that. Yeah. So hit save again, but yes, you can do multiple shift planning. You can also offer a shift in here. Let's offer some shifts, and the offer shift integration is in that way quite nice, as you see right now it's an open shift, and open shifts you can even publish, and then your employees, especially if they are independent workers, they can apply for doing that shift. Think about restaurants, working with a lot of students worker who then can apply for that very shift. Yeah, or events, etc. Okay. So right now we have only been talking about how to plan stuff in shifts. I don't want only plan shifts in here. I also want that this is aligned with our product. You see in here there is a sick day. Inside of Microsoft Shifts, you are able to add different absence types. Yeah. Let's say an absence type, let's make something up, that we have an identifier. I just create one new absence type that you see it will be reflected later on. Yeah. D65 sick leave. Okay, so far so good. It is automatically saved. And now I'm going into our solution, because the absence types in shifts that someone is not available should align with if a valid leave request is entered. For this, I'm going to the settings menu, scroll a bit in. There you go, 130 should be fine. And I'm opening the absence type setting. There you go. I have multiple absence types. And for example, I have the sick. So I have sick leaves in there. It's a normal sick leave. This very absence category you know that already. It's ad hoc absence, or it's also a planned absence, has an influence on when do we push a valid absence to Microsoft Shifts. If a leave request is entered in our system and it is a vacation, for example, a planned absence, we will only transfer it to Microsoft Shifts if the leave request was the vacation leave request was approved. If it is a sick leave, we are transferring it right away. So if this is set to ad hoc absence, we are transferring it right away. You see up here, there is something called time of reasons. And here you have a sick day, and you could add other existing team shifts time of reasons. I just added a time of reasons there on the other side. And let's see, is it there? No, it's not there yet. I'm now doing something which in reality I wouldn't do, because usually I don't do it on the same day, but I'm able, and we created a manual trigger. If you created an absence type in Shifts, just hit this very flow in there. It's called retrieve all time of reasons. There you go. We run the flow. Done. Well done. And now I'm able to link, you will see it. I'm able to link this Rollup 33 sick leave, which I just created as an absence type on the other side, also on this side. Let's get rid of the other one. And what I'm gonna do now is I will create a leave request type of a sick leave, because we are just created it. So leave request. I hit new. And Paul Morrison, unfortunately, will be sick today. Not today, I have already an absence for today, but he was also sick yesterday. Keep in mind, this is an ad hoc absence, meaning as soon as I save it, submit it, that's it. It will be visible over here. Touch wood, small refresh in here. It's reloading it, and suddenly, while I added the leave request on just normal in the self-service, it is a sick leave in this example, it is transferred directly to sick over here, and is visible in the shift planning, signaling the shift planner that, hey, that person will not be available today, and therefore it shouldn't have a shift in there. See, Claudia, you have a question.
How are you planning the absence calendar that is already in the Hub Drive system that gives the team the view who is in and who is out? Are you planning to integrate that, or to not have the absence calendar in Hub Drive anymore, but this one, or no connection?
There's not necessarily a connection.
All right.
Because we have customers who will not use the shift planning at all, and they should still have been able to have an absence calendar in there. So yes, you are able to choose, and that gives you the liberty, if you want to use in the future, also this calendar instead of the absence calendar which we offer. But keep in mind, we are right now looking as a shift manager on it. We are not looking at the team member on it. So right now we have the privileges in Team Shift to see all the shifts. This is not necessarily the case if you are just a normal team member.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Moving on. The shift integration. I'm doing a quick step, and what is required for the shift integration? For the shift integration, it is required that we have an application user set up in Azure Active Directory. This on how to set it up, we will publish in our e-learning so that you are knowing as well how to set everything up. But keep in mind, this is required in order to have it run. And the flows itself is part of our standard flow solution. Let's look for it. You see, I went into mac.powerapps.com. Also here, I will zoom a bit in for you. Go. And let's open our newest flow solution. It is. And you see inside the flow solution, there are now a couple of more flows than you used to see. And all the shifts flows are in our standard flow solution. So it is out of a box functionality, which we are now shipping with Rollup 33. Yeah. You don't have to activate them if you or your customer don't want to use it because you are not working in shifts or this is not the model you have. But it's you don't have to install any other solution than our standard flow solution, and it will work out of the box here. Great. Any questions about the shift integration before we move on to the PSA integration? All right, let's check the chat. Nothing there. Then let's move on. I think everything in here I covered. Integration to PSA. Microsoft is offering a module called Project Service Automation. It also is offering a module called Microsoft Field Service. Both use the same entities for resources. So what is our integration doing? It is linking the employee with its availability coming from the work contract, coming from the calendar, which is behind the primary work location, coming from the leave requests. Yeah, that makes availability perfect, as we have the work hours as well as the absence hours. And it's also linking characteristics. What is characteristics? For us, it's skill and skill levels, and the time entries to a project, to a resource. Meaning when you are planning your resources in Project Service Automation or in Microsoft Field Service, the availability, the skills, etc., of the employee is reflected directly in there. And any changes from the employee self-service will also reflect. For example, you enter a leave request, you will not be able to book that very resource for the same day in PSA. No, I don't want to leave the page. How is it linked? Well, on the employee itself, let's open Paul Morrison. See our new digital personal file, how it's looked. It doesn't have the 3 dots at the end because we're merged a couple of tabs in there. It's quite nice. It looks good. Yeah, and here, so here you have a section called project service automation. If this wouldn't be already a resource, I would have an option to just click yes, and it will automatically create it. If you are interested in how this is done, please go back to the level 100 training as we showed this in there. I will switch now tabs and go into project service automation, where we have a very resource coming from us. And this was auto-generated, and the work hours of that very employee are also visible in here. Yeah. So when is he working? When is he on vacation? When is weekend? Everything is also visible in here, as well as the Microsoft shifts if you want. Also the resource characteristics. As mentioned, all of this is not new. We had this before, but it changed a lot in the background. And to make it more visible what changed in the background, I will take you to the new solution in there. Therefore, I again go to mic.powerapps.com, and I will open the solution parts. Inside the solution parts, I will look for a solution which is called Hub Drive PSA integration. And again, this is also an integration to Microsoft Field Service. And something which I always miss is it is also for the marketing planning board, which is also the marketing module is also built on resources and can be used there as well. Yeah. I open the solution. And if you knew the old solution in there, again, a bit techier today, first of all, you would notice that there are no flows in there. Our old solution didn't have any flows. And now we have a couple of flows. You see this in the column type, and a couple of cloud flows. I will filter them down to show you the cloud flows, and you see there is a number of cloud flows which are in the end triggering normal flows, if you would say. But in this way, we are avoiding all timeouts. We're making sure that if a flow does not work by any accident, it is not because of the capacity of the Power Platform itself, and it is visible for all of us. These flows are in connection with each other, meaning when you import that solution, you won't be able to activate all of them at once. They are in relationship, so meaning some of those flows are child flows, and you have to activate them in the right order, and it only will allow you to activate them in the right order, which is not a big challenge, just that if you notice that some flow is not, or you are not able to activate a certain flow, please check if there is another flow referenced in that very flow itself and activate the other one first. We will take a look, and now we are going really into detailed in the first flow in here, which is called Create Employee Bookable Resource. Just click on it. It will open you another window. That's a good example there. And let's click on Change, Adapt. There you go. When a record is created, just for an example, a bit of loading problems there. Now it is opening. There you go. There you go. When a record is created, updated, or deleted, it will get the employee. And if the employee is not linked to a bookable resource, then it either will create one or it will update one. We will take the road now. When it is not a resource, then it will create one. So it will set a flag and then it will create a bookable resource. How is it doing it? You see a lot of operations handled by this very flow. It will set a flag of the bookable resources to false, and then it will create it if the system user is 0. Then it will create a resource based on the contact. As you all, or most of you are aware of, you can create resources in field service in PSA of different types. You can build, for example, a user type. You can also base it on a contact. And therefore multiple is. So if a user is filled, then it will create one as a user. I'm going back in here just to show you in here that there are multiple types in there: resource type, contact, generic. Okay, this is always there, and the user type. It depends if on the digital personal file the system user is already connected to that very employee. Yeah. So this is what the flow is checking. And then it's going in deeper. I hope to get, there you go. Where is it? There it is. And it will create a resource, bookable resource. It will update an employee that the created resource is in there. So it will update that very record. It will also transfer the work hours in the PSA calendars. It will get all valid employment contracts. Why does it do it? Well, if you have multiple contacts and one of them is ending next week, you want that the working hours for after that are also transferred to PSA. Then it will run a workflow, and this is where a sub workflow is triggered, and you will see there's also a way of generating work hours patterns. So we also deal with the work patterns in there. We will then grab all leave requests, also transfer them to the resource and make them available in there. We will run a workflow for each leave request to connect it to the very appointment there. So this is why it's full of all the other workflows, which are also part of the solution. We are triggering them from the flow. We are mapping the employee holidays, and in the last bit, we are connecting the skill levels of that very employee with a resource. As I mentioned before, this will also show as a characteristics. Yeah. So what to do and how to implement this? Well, it's easy to do. If you're using PSA field service marketing, if you are using our solution, it is just importing an add-on solution and activating all the flows, and it will be done. There can be one trick. If you had done customizations in there, this section is only added. This section, the project service automation section, is only added in case the project service automation add-on solution of ours is installed. So if you did have customizations on this very file before, they won't be visible as fields. So it could be, just in case you did customizations, that you actively have to put them back in on there, on your form. Good. Having said that, so far, let's move on. If you have no further questions. Okay, then I will move on. Absence management. One big change which we did compared to Rollup 32 is that we are now allowing the deletion of leave entitlements, and the deletion of leave entitlements will, even if there is a leave allocation and a leave request connected, will trigger a recalculation. And this recalculation will take care that that all the existing leave requests which used to be connected to there are now connected to other leave entitlement. If no leave entitlement is available, it will create a new one automatically, or it will escalate based on your absence type settings there. Yeah. We added an excess hours compensation part in there. So it's a new absence type, which we are now shipping with our product in Rollup 33, mainly used in Switzerland. We changed the PCF add leave entitlement to retrieve only active applicant type. What do we mean with that? Well, in the past, it could very well be that if you wanted to add a leave entitlement and you had some of our standard leave absence types been deactivated, you would still be able to choose them from here. This is no longer the case. We are now filtering here on the active entitlements. On the leave entitlement itself, there is a field, gültig bis transfer until. This field is now filled automatically 3 months after the start date of the next fiscal year. The end date, however, if entitlement is created or if it's auto-created coming from a time account of hours, or if you're using not time account, but the old functionality of creating, for example, overtime entitlement directly coming from a daily summary, then we are now make sure that the end date is always the end of the year, of the fiscal year. Both of these parts are important for customers, as we're definitely make sure that the offset calculation is triggered, and that all of the leave entitlement are transferred to the next period, and not having an entitlement auto-generated in there, which has the status that it should be transferred to the next period, but the transfer until date is inside of the same fiscal year as the entitlement itself. We're preventing actively that such leave entitlements are created from now, again, if it's set to transfer to new period. We added workflow, and I know some of you love this already, and I do it myself as well, to be able to recalculate leave requests without having to adapt it. What do I mean? Well, now I can open any vacation whatsoever. Any leave request doesn't have to be a vacation, to be honest. And I will be able to recalculate this without having to use workaround like activating, moving it back and forth in the business process flow, and then agreeing it again, or using the modify leave request and choosing modify leave and use the same data as filled on the leave request itself. But you are now able to just go to the flow and you say, hey, calculate leave request, and it will be recalculated and maybe connected to new leave entitlements or whatever you like. You can run this in flow. The best benefit of it for all the other workarounds and other options to recalculate a leave request, it was always the case that if you have a substitute, he was informed again. If you have a supervisor, or you have a supervisor, that person was informed again. The employee itself was informed again that the vacation was approved. All of those emails, all of those activities will not be triggered again. You are now able to just hit here and just recalculate the leave request. That's it. That's recalculated. Check on the modified on. Takes a minute and will be recalculated. Let's not wait for this. We changed the modify leave request. The PCF, which we have, oops, I'm going back on this one. This is this one. It wasn't capable in the past of doing anything else for hourly leave request than cancel the leave request. For days, no problem. You could calculate half days. You could calculate full days. You are now able also to modify hourly leave requests accordingly, and there is no longer a problem. You are now able to do so. Okay. And we changed the trigger to recalculate leave request. Also, when a leave allocation is disconnected from a leave entitlement. A slide earlier, we talked about that once you delete a leave entitlement, which you are now capable of, previously prevented it, it's automatically recalculated. There's also now an additional trigger that if a leave allocation has no leave entitlement connected or no leave request connected, it will also be recalculated because we guess it can happen by human errors, meaning a system admin is able to delete something and they could do it. And the problem in there is finding those errors. And because that is quite heavy to find those errors, which are influenced by users itself, we are now preventing those errors by automatically triggering a recalculation, and therefore no further errors. So leave requests should, are aligned definitely to the leave entitlements now. Claudia earlier asked about the absence calendar. We changed the absence calendar. Oh, I'm glad that you're that happy. I hope you are still satisfied when I show you the new absence calendar as it looks like the old one.
If it works, then it's all fine.
Yes, it works. That's why we changed it. Yeah. So this is the absence calendar as you knew it. Something which changed in there is that we reduced the number of requests when you had customers with a huge number of employees and you opened this one because Microsoft changed the number of allowed requests in the background in January, February, I think January update. It could happen that either you have this yellow error messages coming up from there or that you won't be able to open any other records and preventing this, we changed a lot in the background of this very calendar. So we have less requests. We are using the browser cache instead. And therefore, there should no longer be a problem in there. If you find something, please, you know our email addresses. Come forward. Yeah. Okay. user interface and the user interface and the user experience in general. We changed a lot of this views. We grouped in the HR settings. Let's go quickly in there. You maybe saw it before, or you had a glimpse in there. Remember, we had a list in here from settings, and then it was just settings till down there to the license part. We are now structured at this. Will be unusual for all of you who are entering it the first time, but we are now having everything connected to recruiting inside a recruiting section. Everything connected to administration in the administration section. I think from the user perspective, this is really, really helpful as it is already a learned behavior or learned interface from the front page of the HR Hub anyway, as we are using the same sections, which now in the settings as in the HR Hub itself. We also took the liberty to change a couple of toggles. They used to be green, they are now blue. In the background, there's a lot of changes in there. We changed the applicant rank, which is now the applicant rating. And also we have tooltips in the work patterns and time accounts, which you can see. Not want to go in there, but one thing I want to show you is inside the employee is a new grouping of the digital personal file. If you're a long-time user, this will be quite unusual for you, but you will quickly learn how great it is to finally have just that number of tabs and not so much more tabs up here to not use this 3 points, especially if you're using a mobile device in them. So on the business data, on the first section, you now have the general information, but if you scroll further down, you see the work address. So far, no changes, but there are multiple changes on the HR details. Why? Because we have a new section or a section in general in there, which is called access control. All of this access control is for the dormakaba integration, which we introduced in Rollup 32. Yeah. So if you have a customer, if you want to integrate with dormakaba, if you have punch locks on the door, if you have entering with RFID chip, it could very well be from dormakaba, and we can integrate it. We can get timestamps from there, and therefore we have to fill the badge group in here, and then the timestamp can be created because the badge an employee holds in his hand and holds against a punch lock is linked to this. It will automatically create the timestamps. But the current position is moved to here. Earlier it was in a section further behind in here, but we thought it is a good idea to put it on the current and the previous and the future position in here. Also, the equipment moved here. We had our own equipment and medical record section. As usually there are just 4 or 5 items maximum assigned to an employee. This is why we moved it here in front. As it is also for the most times connected to the RFID chip, which I have in the control section.
Holger?
Yep.
I see that the equipment is not on the navigation bar on the left side. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Could you please think about it if that would be useful? I think it would be useful to have it on the left bar as well, because if you want to see who has laptops then you cannot enter by a digital file, but you have to have an overview about it.
Absolutely, we can think about it. I think that product management is in here and will think about it. And but I'd like to point out that the view you are talking about is available. It is available not in the administration, but in the settings part. Here we have equipment. And you see here all the equipment which is in the system, which in this case for this this very environment, there's not a lot of data in there, but you see all the equipment which is in here. But I agree there should be an employee equipment view. So
okay, still
but
under
then
construction.
there
Under
needs to be an
construction.
employee. Yeah, but it's very good. Good point. Good point.
And if you go back quickly to the digital file, I have one more request or question.
Yeah.
As the field in HR data, HR details.
Yes.
The holiday calendar is coming from primary work location. Would you consider to move that field standardly to business data? Because customers use more like I locate someone into a company, into a department, I give him a job profile and I say, where does he work? So it's more in that thinking of where does he work and what does he work, and not so much in this area where we basically show contract information from the employment terms, but not maintaining so many data. And this location is a better fit for many users in the area of business data in employment where you do the department.
Okay, so the question was right in the beginning. Do we consider? Now we do.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And without going in too much into details in the back, we are consolidated and merged a couple of other tabs as well to get less and less number of tabs to make it better viewable, to show more data, which is directly connected on one view. In Rollup 32, the performance potential evaluation metrics. Still love playing with that. Used to be an extra tab. Also, this is now part of the performance, which does make sense. All right. The license dashboard has been changed. It has been adapted. It has now the great hub drive colors, but it has something else, and this is coming new. It's something new which I didn't say last week, which was not implemented fully last week, is we had cases where an employee was deactivated because he left the company, but that employee still had a system user field filled. And connected to that very system user was a license of ours, an hub drive license. It was quite hard to get this license back without reactivating that very employee. We are handling now this actively for you. So if you deactivate an employee and the system user field of that very employee is filled, then we will delete the license assignment. So you free up the license to be reused for another user. Sounds small, but we all know from testing, from cleaning a system, and especially that we are no longer allowing system admins to directly delete employees. You first have to deactivate them. This is also taking care of the licenses of ours, which is, I think, beneficial for all implementations we run together. Further changes coming with Rollup 33. We had changes in security roles. We added a couple of security roles in our standard product. According to the power extensions, we also now have the security roles connected. And some of the security roles didn't have access to the right apps of ours, and we adapted those now as well. And the daily summaries are retrieved only in those very flows if an attendance is recorded. Sad news for all talent fans, and yes, I'm saying talent because in the change from Microsoft Talent to Dynamics 365 HR, Microsoft is also deprecating the Attract and the Onboard module. This will only affect all talent customers, as new customers haven't been able to book this, I think, since last March. Not last March, March 2020. So for a lot of customers, there will be no changes, but there will be some changes, as we will also remove in Rollup 33 from the integration to Dynamics 365 HR the entities candidate, job applications, candidate education, candidate work experience, and job opening. So those entities will no longer be filled and transferred by our solution in CDS or in Dynamics 365 HR, as they are no longer part of the Microsoft product from February 2022 as well. If you have customers, or if you are using that very solution and you like to keep it, it's deprecated, but we can still offer them an option that you can continue using it, but we will not support it any longer, and we will eventually remove it from a solution, so no new customer will import those parts of that integration. We have a selection of product tickets. Last week I went through the whole list. I like to spare you the time this very training to go through all of them, but those tickets will also be part of the release notes, which are already available to you in the Partner Hub. I hope you have interest in Rollup, or I could wake your interest in Rollup 33 and the RC. You as a partner are able to download this. You are able to download it from the partner portal, which you can find on hubdrive.com. You all have your login credentials. If you, by any accident, forgot them, lost them, or don't have any, please contact your partner manager. We like to ask you for your feedback for Rollup 33 RC. Well, we like to ask you for your feedback in general, but especially for Rollup 33 RC, as it is not published to customers yet, but in 5 weeks' time it will be. But in order to have this, time is running, and our product managers will accept any recommendation till the 14th of May. So if we receive it till the 14th of May, there is a good chance that we will introduce it still in Rollup 33. So all results of your testing, please send them directly to rolluptickets@hubdrive.com. It will be routed directly to the product management and the right point. And if you would be so kind, also adding August Hoxer. This is our head of R&D. He likes to be informed and also loves feedback about his and his team's work directly. So far from my side, if you have any questions, please, now would be a perfect time. It doesn't look like it, then thank you for joining. I hope you liked what you saw, what we could present. Again, big thanks to Vera, who supported me last week and this week, and also to the R&D and product management department, who put a lot of work in there, and we hope that you and our customers like, love, and use it. Thank you.
Thanks, Holger and Vera. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.